The views and opinions expressed on this station do not reflect the owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Monday, the 25th day of January, 2021. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House One Communications and Windows. I'm Jamal Hartman, along with Carla Zul. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. If you're watching online, share the link. If you're on Facebook, start a watch party. If you're on Twitter, retweet it. Just get the conversation out there to your network. And don't forget to like and engage with us. A good one to begin the week as former Premier of Bermuda, Michael Dunkley, stops by for a conversation. The Daily Plate is a famous quote, and we have quite a lot to discuss. I don't even know where to start. Any NFL fans? I mean, it is. It has. Well, you know where I'm going to start. Do you watch football, Carl? Like not the American kind, the real kind.
No.
Okay.
I watch it on YouTube, little highlights, but not really.
Okay, so there was a firing in England this morning. And there's a team called Chelsea. And Chelsea just fired their manager, Frank Lampard. And so that's the big talk on Twitter right now, that Chelsea's, the manager went through a little dip. And obviously that same dip that my former club, Manchester United, and Arsenal went through earlier this season. Obviously, Manchester United's on top of the tables. Actually, they beat Liverpool yesterday as well. Liverpool fans, they're a strange bunch. I mean, they were like one hell of a loud choir early, like for the last 2.5 years. I mean, in fairness to them, they did something for the first time in 30 years. So they had a right to be loud. But the thing is, even when they were losers for 29 years, they were still loud. Strangely enough, they've gone quiet. But Chelsea fired their manager, and they're bringing in a new manager. And then the other kind of football, the egg-shaped one that they throw, heard of that game. That's the American people. Well, the egg-shaped game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have the same owner, the Glazer family, as Manchester United, they're going to the Super Bowl. But what I think makes it interesting is they're going to the Super Bowl with undoubtedly now Tom Brady has got to be known as the greatest ever in that sport. His 10th time, I believe. There's been 50-something Super Bowls in his 10th time going to the big dance. So, I mean, the sports world's going crazy. It's been an interesting time, Carla. But if you watch the egg game, it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think what we're going to do is what you usually see during the Super Bowl when Tom Brady's in it is everyone who doesn't like Tom Brady, which is every other state where he's not playing. They're probably going to be for the Kansas City Chiefs, and then Tom Brady is going to be probably cheered on, not even by the state of Florida, but just people in and around Tampa. So that's what we're looking at with that. But
when is the Super Bowl?
Well, I'm glad you didn't say what is the Super Bowl. She said when, folks, when. So it's in 2 weeks. The actual date, 2 weeks from yesterday. So let's see. So 2 weeks from yesterday will be the 7th of February, I think. Yeah, the 7th of February. Yeah. So yes. Have you watched the Super Bowl before, Carla?
No. I know what it is. I know that they had the nip slip and all that type of stuff, but I don't watch it.
You've seen the commercials before, right?
I used to tune in just for the commercials and then go back to watching whatever when the game was on. But I have a best friend who's a fanatic. Like, sheds tears, and this a girl carries on over football. Really?
No, we're not talking about your friend yet. We're talking about you. So you've seen a halftime show before, right?
I think I would be lying if I said yes. I mean, I know what goes on. It just doesn't interest me. Last year it was a big complaint last year, and I can't remember why. Oh, because they didn't use someone from Florida in Florida or something. Was that last year or year before?
Well, it was in Miami last year, and they had Jennifer Lopez and Shakira.
Right, that's what it was, and they felt that it should have been Little John and some other people, right? So I know a little something.
Little John ain't from Miami.
You
know what? We're gonna leave the sports right there for you. We're gonna get into some other stuff because we can't do this with you. Not on Monday. Not first thing. Anyway, we have former Premier Michael Dunkley coming up. This is what I'm saying, Elizabeth. She's like she ain't never been to a Super Bowl party, wings, chili, all that good stuff. I just don't understand.
You didn't ask me that. You did not ask me had I been to a party. I've been to one.
So hold on. When you go to the party, what do?
Play Candy Crush.
You're aging yourself because Candy Crush ain't been around in ages.
It's still around. It's very viable. Watch your mouth.
You know, Robert Durham says Jamal Carla has better things. Apparently, she does have better things to do with her life. Look, let's get to a conversation. Bermuda Twitter. If you know anything, you don't mess with Bermuda Twitter. If you know anything, you don't mess with Bermuda on Twitter. Because you know that Bermudians will come for you on Twitter. Well, apparently somebody didn't get the memo, Carla. We have at Rachel. I mean, you know, you're somebody when you can get at Carla or at Elizabeth, at just your first name, but at Rachel, number one Rachel, she calls herself on Twitter. She said Forbes is inviting 75 of their 30 under 30s to start a bubble for a month-long residency in Bermuda in March. It seems like they're taking every precaution possible, and yet this still seems like an incredibly terrible and ill-conceived idea. Well, I don't know where to start, but you had some people, you know, coming at Bermuda, some people trashing the weather of Bermuda. And these people live in Boston and Oak Hill or Oak Park, Illinois. Well, first off, let me just say this, Carl. I worked in tourism, fortunately or unfortunately, for, about a half a decade. And while I was in tourism, you know what the easiest argument for me to go back against? Bermuda's weather is horrible between January and March, they used to tell me, right? So I would always say to them, you've ever heard of a place called Times Square in New York City? Yes, I love it there. When was the last time you were in Times Square? Oh, I was there in February. You ever been in the summer? Yes, I love it there too. If Times Square can be full on its hottest day of the year and it's full on its coldest day of the year, then why can't Bermuda be the same? Why? Because people see Bermuda as this beach destination. With all due respect, and may criticism lie where it may, when you have individuals who are responsible for marketing Bermuda and promoting Bermuda, and they can't do so without a damn picture of the ocean or a beach sand, that's what you're going to get. So you can't blame these people for what they think Bermuda is. But for sake, Bermuda is more than a beach. It's more than its weather in March. Even though it may be a bit chillier than the Caribbean, it's damn warmer than Boston, anywhere in Illinois, and certainly New York City. I just don't get it. But again, that comes back to those who are responsible for selling, marketing, and promoting Bermuda. That in 2021, we're still having to fight back against people who are demonizing our beloved, beautiful, subtropical weather in the first quarter of the year.
But even worse than that, They compare Bermuda to the fire festival.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for, because I wrote a post. Started writing something yesterday in response to that, and I said, "Don't you dare put Bermuda in the same sentence as," and then I stopped and I said, "My days of being paid to defend Bermuda on that level are over." They kicked.
For those who don't know, I think we need to tell them real quick what the fire festival was.
You
For those
go
who
ahead.
may not.
The Bahamas. Go ahead.
I can't remember the other guy's name, but Ja Rule. Remember this Ja Rule, and he had this business partners, and they sold this dream of this awesome event. They had influencers take pictures, and then when they got there, like they were gonna have opulent food, blah blah blah, and they ended up stranded, living in tents, and they had like cheese sandwiches. And remember, the man on Netflix said he needed water so bad he is willing to bleep a bleep for water. So they had a picture of Ja Rule and the guy that's in jail for it to this day, saying like Bermuda was comparative. I thought that was so funny.
When I saw that, I started writing something and I immediately said, no, I took my one disagreement up, which was the weather, and I deleted it because I said, I'm not going to go there. Because one, I'm not trying to disrespect the Bahamas. It's not their fault that they had shady people trying to put something on in their island. But to compare Bermuda with that, we don't roll like that. We don't rock with people like that. That's not how we do business. So don't lump us in with what's going on in some other destination.
But I did feel, I thought about it and I pondered and I was like, is it a good idea or a bad idea? Right. I saw some Bermudians saying, it's a good idea or bring money into the economy. But these are 30 under 30. And they did say that some of the people could be in their 40s now because they're using a bunch because it's 100. So they're using people from different years. But I've seen people in Bermuda party and I can't see these 30 under 30s or 100 under 30s sitting inside twiddling their thumbs, So I see it as a potential super spreader concept if just two of them decide to run rampant, so
it's an interesting one. I think Bermudians were very supportive of it, believing that it would inject something into the economy. And I think, having former Premier Dunkley on this morning, I'd be interested to get his thoughts because look, Bermuda needs some injection. Bermuda needs something into its economy. And while it may be hypocritical of the government as to how they react to Bermudians, as someone said to me, Bermuda's in a space where it's basically got to pimp itself up for revenue at this point. So I saw people saying, we welcome you, just get tested. I mean, I get it. I get it. Elizabeth Carla. I'll get it, Carla. I think your Wi-Fi is out. Elizabeth says, I'm just interested in the fact that Twitter finds out about a whole initiative due to take place on March 1 before it's formally announced to us. Well, in fairness, Elizabeth, there were tons of big programs that I was responsible for bringing to Bermuda that Bermudians never knew of. Obviously this is different. So I think I take your point. It's a pandemic. So Bermudians probably should be given a heads up, but I'll use Juggling Jason was on recently and spoke and even a Dungeon, like they've spoken about the big groups like State Farm that used to come to Bermuda for years and years and years. Well, this is no different. It's just that it's taken place in a pandemic. You name a company, a big Wall Street company that they've been to Bermuda for this kind of stuff. This is the only difference is this is happening during a pandemic. Bermudians would be surprised who's in Bermuda as a part of big tourism and business groups. Rick Olson says, if we could rebuild our nightlife, we would have something to sell 12 months a year. We are pathetic right now. Rick Olson makes a great point, though. He makes an excellent point because, I mentioned the fact that I mentioned the fact that we are seen as a beach destination. But maybe if we had collateral, which Mr. Olson is speaking of, the collateral of nightlife, things to go along with not just promoting water activities and sunny activities, then we might have something to go with it. New York, like I said, it's full on its hottest day, full on its coolest day, right? However, New York has a lot more to offer. There's a thing called Broadway. There's the Empire State Building. There's so many different things to do in New York City. You can use other destinations as well, maybe Boston, Las Vegas. There are so many different things to do in these destinations. Tama Richardson says, Elizabeth, considering the quickness with which we seem to have press conferences, I concur. Again, I would just say, I think the only difference right now, guys, is that this is a pandemic. But these kinds of groups come to Bermuda all the time. And I think the only reason that at Rachel, the number one Rachel on Twitter, apparently, the only thing that makes this unique is the fact that it's a pandemic. And so that was her concern about it. But this is the kind of tourism that's kept Bermuda afloat or relevant for many years. So I don't think this is something outside of it being a pandemic. If that's what you mean, that Bermudians should know about these big groups because it's a pandemic, I totally agree with you. But as far as when it happens, these groups come to Bermuda regularly. Well, they did come to Bermuda regularly. On that note, look, we saw the interim CEO of the BTA, I believe, still interim. 10 months later, I think he's still the interim CEO. Glenn Jones, he was all for it. He was on Twitter saying, "Come on down," doing his best Bob Barker on there. So let's see what happens. Let's keep our eyes on it. And I'm sure the likes of Maya Palacio will be in the press conference tomorrow. And I'm sure she'll have questions regarding this to see what safety precautions are taking place. Is this a legit group or just someone on Twitter with a big mouth? I mean, hey, she's verified, but some people get verified just from talking crap, right? Carla, we've got some news coming from you, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. After that, we've got former Premier Michael Dunkley joining us for a conversation. And let's hope that Carla doesn't have anything strange. Before we go to the news, did you hear about Miami? The basketball, Miami Heat. They're going to have dog sniffing dog. I said dog sniffing dogs. You know what I mean? Sniffing dog sniffing. For people. What's it called? What's the virus? COVID. They're going to use coronavirus sniffing dogs to screen fans. Yeah, found that interesting. Anyway, that's my news for today. Over to you.
A replica firearm was seized and two males aged 45 and 49 years old arrested after police received reports of two males wearing dark clothing and masks on a motorcycle near Cavendish Road car park on Cavendish Road in Pembroke. The passenger was carrying what appeared to be a firearm, and armed officers responded to the incident, which occurred around 3 p.m. yesterday. There were other males with a video camera at the scene. This is the second such incident involving replica firearms in recent times, and Stephen Corbishley, Commissioner of Police, once again expressed concern and displeasure at the situation, saying, "Not only did these individuals behave recklessly and irresponsibly, causing members of the public to be fearful for their safety, but they also put themselves at severe risk of being seriously hurt or worse by officers responding to a call of masked individuals armed with a rifle." Premier David Burt presented 6 grants to local community clubs and organizations totaling $151,700, which will support youth programs and assist with capital upgrades. The initiative is in keeping with the government's commitment to supporting the community efforts of local organizations. Checks were presented to the following organizations who received amounts between $6,200 and $50,000. Pembroke Hamilton Club, Jiu-Jitsu Martial Arts, Pay a Kid, Western Stars Sports Club, St. David's Cricket Club, and St. George's Cricket Club. Premier Burt said in the 2020-2021 budget, $500,000 in capital development funding was set aside for community clubs to assist in the upgrade of their facilities. In September, the Minister of Finance, Curtis Dickerson, announced as part of the government stimulus plan that the $1 million set aside for this program in next year's budget would be brought forward for a total of $1.5 million in this year's budget to support more economic activity and jobs. Additionally, due to the impact of COVID-19, the pandemic had on club fundraising, $250,000 has been made available from the Confiscated Assets Fund to support youth programs. Jamal, do you know what today is?
Monday? I don't know. Tell me.
Today is opposite day. It's a fun day where you can say the opposite of what you mean. It's a great opportunity to make everyone laugh by saying the opposite of what you usually say. It also gives you the opportunity to be a bit cheeky and say the things you've always wanted to say but never usually do. After all, you're only saying it because it's opposite day, right? You can also do activities in the wrong order. For example, decide to have breakfast for dinner. Pancakes, anyone? You could even wear your clothes backwards. I want to see you try that, Jamal. It's up to you how much you want to embrace the theme of this day. Turning to weather, the high in Bermuda is expected to reach 64, while Fort Lauderdale, Florida will see a high of 72 and 41 in Bristol, UK. Don't forget, it's Reggae Mondays all day on the 4100 radio. Don't miss the mix with Juggle and Jason from noon to 3 p.m. Bermuda time. That's your daily hour news break.
All right. So opposite day. I'm not playing this game because it's just not going to go well. We're going to take a quick break. Be back with former leader of Bermuda, Michael Dunkley. I'm not playing this game. This will go live real fast.
Good day, Medical House Doris speaking. Can I help you?
Medical House is Bermuda's leading one-stop shop for healthcare. Bermuda's top doctors, dentists, care homes, and the hospital choose Medical House for a wide range of products.
Anything that we ask them to do, they come through.
These same professional quality products are available to you for home health care.
If we can use them, we definitely do so.
Medical House is best known for its uniforms and footwear. It also has restaurant uniforms that stand up to even the toughest shifts. If you're on your feet all day, Medical House has comfortable and stylish shoes that are also durable and easy to clean. Everyone needs some help cleaning up, and Medical House has got it. Leading-edge janitorial, facility, and maintenance supplies are all here. Medical House is on Millreach Lane in Pembroke, where there's private parking right outside the door. Call or visit Medical House today.
We're spotlighting a food producer whose products are made with real wholesome ingredients, such as the highest grade farm-grown vegetables and certified organic free-range livestock with no artificial ingredients or preservatives, and no compromising on the painstaking quality control. Imagine Foods believe that higher quality ingredients, meeting high standards of purity, yield greater nutritional advantages and a more satisfying flavor. This month, we're featuring Imagine Foods organic roasted turkey, vegetable wild mushroom, and savory beef gravy. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Welcome back to the Big Show, brought to you by Medical House One Communications, Lindo's, and our friends over at Channel 82, where you can watch this, The Daily Hour, and many other locally produced shows if you have One Communications cable. I'm Jamal Hartman. She is Carla Zulu. And without further ado, let's bring in our guest for the day, former Premier of Bermuda, the Honorable Michael Dunkley. Welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning. How are you guys today?
Morning.
I'm doing okay. I can't complain. How are you doing, sir?
Well, I'll play Carla's game in the spirit of opposite day. I'm tired and don't feel like working.
See, I'm glad you can do that because I can't.
I can't. I'm just playing the game, but I feel healthy and I'm blessed.
There you go. Well, look, let's get right to the conversation. Look, just give us your thoughts about everything that's going on in the world over the last year.
Wow. Well, we don't have a lot of time on it. The world's turned upside down by the pandemic. Let's put it that way and be short, sweet, to the point. No one would have thought at this time last year that the virus, which I guess the first cases were starting to trickle out in January of 2020, would have caused the world to be thrown upside down like it actually has. And through all of this, you know, in the spirit of what you guys have been talking about recently in your shows, is I think shown that the world really is a small place. You know, in spite of how big it is in mass and how many people live in the world's really a small place because this pandemic really, in a blink of an eye, has spread to every corner of the world and thrown the world upside down. And now that we're still in the middle of the pandemic and maybe starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel, we need to grasp the opportunities, because while the pandemic has shown how small the world actually is, it's also shown that no matter where you are in the world, you can conduct your business. And so Bermuda, while we're isolated, we have a lot of opportunity we can grasp, because just like everyone else, we're facing some really difficult decisions in trying to not only deal with the pandemic, and I think this government has done a reasonable job today, but now the most important thing is to turn it back around and get our economy going again and taking care of the struggling, make sure that they have an opportunity. And there's more than ever of those in Bermuda at the present time.
You mentioned Bermuda and the current government doing what you consider a reasonably good job, but the current state of Bermuda is worrying to some, if not many. What does Bermuda need to do to bounce back? And let's just be clear. Bermuda was pretty much not doing fiscally well before the pandemic driven recession. But what does Bermuda need to do to bounce back?
Yeah, Jamal, Carl, I think you're right that we were struggling in our economy before the pandemic hit us. And that is certainly more of a focus just to the critical position we're in. And I think we need to understand that while we've made progress through the pandemic, the vaccine is here now. We need to get people to take it, and we start to see better days ahead. We still have a long road to hoe, because we don't know when the vice grip of this pandemic will be loosened on our community, and certainly throughout the world, and that will impact what we have to do here. What we need to do to recover from this is we need to open up Bermuda in the appropriate ways. And when I say open up, I'm not doing it saying that to the detriment of Bermudians. But what I mean is that, and I touched on it earlier in the conversation, is with the pandemic, people all over the world have proven they can work where they are. And where they are mostly has been at home. But if you look at the real foundation of our economy, which is international business, they have proven through this pandemic that they can operate and do what they have to do in Bermuda, still write their premiums, still get new business, still pay the people that they have to pay off. So we in Bermuda, we need to make sure that we take care of the foundation of our island, which is international business, and attract more people to come work out of Bermuda. Now, I heard your comments before about the bringing people to the island to work for longer periods of times, and the Twitter controversy that was taking place. And I was interested in that as well, because I caught a bit of that on Twitter. And what that misses is that Bermuda has set up regulations and restrictions from the beginning of the pandemic. And while there's been some people who have violated those, I think most Bermudians have done a really good job of adhering to them, and also making sure other people adhere to those. And I think that with programs like this, and a lot of it hasn't been made public yet, so we really don't know what it means. But with programs like this, it gives us an exciting opportunity to get more economic activity in the island, and at the same time create opportunities for Bermuda. And that's what it has to be all about. If we want to bring economic activity to the island, it always has to create economic opportunities for Bermuda, get people back working again. Because our government's spending a lot of money through COVID. Our government is supporting a lot of people through COVID, and that's all done by borrowing. But we cannot borrow forever. We need to gear up the economic activity, and that means we need to be creative in getting more people to work out of our island, which they can, which they will enjoy. And this tags on a bit to the conversation you were having about the weather. One of the things I love about Bermuda is that in our 365 days a year, we get all 4 seasons, but you can still go outside the vast majority of the time. That's what makes Bermuda great. You don't have to go out in a boat every day, but there's many other things we can do. And if you ask people who have worked from home in Bermuda, they will give us a glowing recommendation of just how good it can be. And we have capacity to bring more business to Bermuda as long as it creates opportunity for Bermudians.
You said go on a boat every day. I just want to go one day.
Well, I hear you, but you pick a perfect day around Cup Match.
Shifting gears a bit, you have been favored politically, but the OBA, hasn't. What do you think can happen for the people of Bermuda to regain their trust in the OBA?
Well, I think it's quite simple, Carla, but could be very difficult, is that you need to be out and about with the people. One of the things that I learned very early on in politics, because I was blessed to get involved with some of the people who put their boots on the ground and knocked door to door. I started running back in 1997 with John Barrett. And we canvassed all the time, day and night, all through Devonshire South at the time. And I've always done that. I was also taught at the time by the Honorable C.V. Jim Moore, which may he rest in peace, that you got to be out and about with the people. And that's what I've always done through my political career. I actually enjoy canvassing now. I enjoy being out and about with the people. And that's why I think at the last election, my results differed from the majority, everyone within the party, because I canvassed hard. I knocked on every door, and I'm comforted to say that Smith North now is my greater family. I really enjoy getting out and about. I'm in the constituency every day. And if you want to be a politician, because people can be out on social media a lot, because people expect to see you in their neighborhood, you better be out there or they'll grill you. And when it comes to election time, they will not vote for you. So you got to be out and about. We can disagree on issues, and it happens quite often, but they have to know that they can count on you to be there, and they have to know that they trust you to listen to their concerns and to work on their behalf. So it's quite simple, really, but it's a difficult task because you can't just sit at home and act like you're out there. You can't just talk in Parliament because talk is cheap. If you don't have a foundation of support, then your messages will fall on deaf ears. So let's get out and about and talk to people. And now more than ever, in the difficult climate that we face with COVID, they expect to see you out there. And the last thing I will say to that is during the election, it was a difficult one because we had COVID all around us at the time. We were in the middle of the pandemic. And I was concerned about the reaction going on the doorstep, but I made sure I always wore my mask. When I knocked, I moved myself back from the door when they opened the door, and I protected their personal space. I had not one issue, and I knocked on every single door in Smith North. So even with COVID, you can do what you have to do in your life and make sure that you're productive in doing it.
But that leads me to the other part is that you're great with social media. Some politicians tend to use it when it suits them, especially if it's an election, but you have consistently used your social media regardless of the political climate. Why have you chosen to do that?
Because a couple of things. One, that people need to be able to access you. And if you only use social media occasionally, people won't trust that you'll actually get the message. Two, I realize how important it is. And I'm blessed to have two still relatively young daughters who actually put me on Twitter back in, I think it was about 2007. I think I was the first politician in Bermuda to be on Twitter at the time. I guess, and lastly, I enjoy everything I do in life. If you're going to take on a commitment, and no matter what it is, if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it right. And so when I took on the responsibility to have a Twitter account or a Facebook page or an Instagram page, I made sure that I spent time with it. And that's what I continue to do. It's not a habit that you just pick up and you can take time off. You've got to do it properly.
But it also puts you sometimes, even when you don't ask for it, in the limelight as such, or in the hot seat. Does it ever become draining and you just want to walk away from it for a little? The social media part of it?
Yeah, everything in life can become draining. But, get back to the responsibility part of it. If you take your responsibility seriously, you get drained at times, but there's ways you recharge yourself. I don't take the approach I'm walking away from anything in life unless it's time that I do so. And so if I get drained by certain things, whether it be people beating you up on social media or your work's getting you, or you have a long day in the house with somebody, there are ways as human beings we can make sure that we have a full battery and we can get through it. One of the things that I do in the busy life that I've led is I try to exercise and work out every day. And most of the time I do that early in the morning before I start my workday. I find that keeps my battery charged, it keeps my resilience up, it keeps me healthy, and I can handle the pressure. But walking away is not what you do in this world today. This world's too tough. You got to stand up and fight it.
Now, let's speak political legacy. What do you want your legacy to be in 50 years when someone's looking back at the political career of Michael Dunkley? What impact do you hope to have had?
That's a really good question. I haven't really put too much time into it. because I tend to focus on here and now and what I need to get done. But people have these conversations all the time, and I guess I would say at this case that I just want people to think, okay, you know what? Michael Dunkley was honest. He worked hard. He always listened to us. And we could count on him to take our concerns to heart and work for us. Look, politics is a rough occupation to be in nowadays, especially now with the pandemic and the economy struggling so badly. And because politicians are so accessible to people. And so it's a really tough occupation to have. And you got to have thick skin, but you got to keep working for the people. And one of the things that I pride myself is I will never run away from the issues that we have to hand. I will stand on my principles. I will stand on my character. I might not always get it right. Certainly made some mistakes, but I'm not afraid to keep on plugging. I'm not afraid to listen to people, and I'm not afraid to work for people. I serve you guys for one simple reason. I love Bermuda, and I will never be one of those type of guys to sit on the sideline and be an armchair quarterback. Yeah, I watch football and talk like I know all about it. But when it comes to the island we all love, I put my hat in the ring. I will work for people just to try to help make a difference. Because when I go to bed at night and I pray to the good Lord, I feel confident that at least I'm trying to make a difference. And not just being an armchair quarterback, which is good for some people, but we need more people to get involved in Bermuda. Because the more people get involved, the better decisions we can make, and our country will move forward.
Indeed. Let's go to the audience. A lot of questions coming in. Terry K. Stewart says, what ideas do you have to make living more affordable for the average Bermudian?
That's a real question, guys. And I would answer it in two ways. One is that, yes, our cost of living is real high. And unfortunately, because of COVID, we're going to see that continue to stay at those levels because of all the difficulties that has done to us. But the two ways is, one is we have to make sure that there is great opportunity for Bermudians. And that has shrunk right now because the job market is weak with the cost of living being high. And so we're struggling to deal with that. That needs to change around. And the sooner we get out of the COVID environment, I think the better off we'll be, because confidence in the workforce is slipping because people can't afford to hire more people. People are reticent to some extent to invest and to move forward. So you have to create opportunity, because with opportunity, Bermudians can move into areas where they have expertise and have gainful employment and take care of their families and friends. Now, as far as the cost of living, that is a real challenge that this government and the former government has also tried to address. And we need to control the cost of living the best we can. And what we have to do in a couple of areas. One is we need to continue to break away red tape. If you look at the world we live in right now, we have more red tape than we ever had before. And guys, this is not a criticism of the current government, but it's just a criticism of the way we live as people. We have red tape, whereas there's so many hoops you need to jump through to open your own business, to even get a bank account nowadays. All this red tape is costing money, which is passed on to us as the consumer. And so we need to take a reflection on where we stand. Are we actually moving the world forward with all these rules and regulations, or could we free it up to allow us to be in a better position to control our cost of living? And I would be remiss if I didn't remark on this, is with healthcare. We need to make sure that we can control the cost of healthcare, because that's one of the biggest drivers of our cost of living. Healthcare and the cost of bringing products into Bermuda, the two biggest drivers of our cost of living at the present time.
Go back to the audience. Sean Smith says, as a businessman, what opportunities do you see how government can grow its revenue with increase in taxes? Maybe he meant without increase in taxes. I'm going to say without.
Yeah, I think so. Probably without increasing taxes, because they can always increase taxes and increase revenue. I think all governments have to be very careful right now about tax increases, because any chance of stimulus as we ride through this pandemic period and recession will be beaten up by it. Look, as I said earlier, Sean, government needs to make sure that Bermuda is open for business. At the same time, if you are bringing business to Bermuda, if you're bringing investment into Bermuda, Bermuda's been successful through the years because of the inward investment of capital into our country. We need to do it with Bermudians at heart first. And we need to make sure is if we attract more businesses, what opportunity is there for Bermudians in those businesses? And that's key. If I've been a criticism of fintech from time to time. While I support the concept of fintech, I think there's great potential there. The government hung their hat and said it would create tremendous amount of jobs for Bermudians. That's one industry where we've seen fintech start to grow in Bermuda, but we haven't seen the jobs for Bermudians yet. We also have to remember we have to create opportunities where Bermuda has expertise. And if you take a look at it, what are the industries struggling most in Bermuda at the present time? Hospitality. Mr. Olson was on earlier talking about hospitality and nightlife. We need to make sure that as we re-gear our economy and get it to start to burn on more cylinders, that we are catering to those in hospitality, those who work in the restaurant industry, those who work in the hotels, taxi drivers out there who have struggled for well over a year because no one's moving around the country. Those are the Bermudians we need to gear our focus on for opportunity and the inward investment of capital.
Indeed. Just want to shift back to the OBA, the One Bermuda Alliance, the political party, which you're a member of parliament for. It just clicked to me. I did not have this written down, but last week, the party was brought into a bit of controversial social media conversation due to appointed Senator Marcus Jones, who pretty much made a statement regarding his support for the now former president, Donald Trump, which I believe everyone was fine with. But on that post, which I don't have in front of me right now, which we shared last week on this show, he signed basically Senator Marcus Jones. What are your thoughts on not only his posting, which again, I think the only issue many people had was that it was signed as senator. He can feel how he feels, but also the response of the One Bermuda Alliance.
Let me answer your question this way. First off, Senator Jones, whether he posted or not, once he posted it, he needed to sign Senator Marcus Jones because that's what he is. I think it would be somewhat misleading if he just put Marcus Jones. He's a senator and he had to sign it that way, in my view. I'm going to stay away from people's personal beliefs because I think we all have them. We all should be free to say what we want about them. But I will say this, and this is the important thing. In my time in politics, I've done my very best to stay away from other people's politics. And by other people's politics, I mean other countries' politics. And why is that? Well, simply because as a member of parliament, as a senator, you perhaps in time will have to deal with other countries. And I've done that as the premier, as a minister of national security. I still, come in contact with members of the legislature from other countries. You stay out of their politics. You just deal with them on a country-to-country basis, trying to build relationships. I will never wade into other people's politics. I will have conversations with them as appropriate. But it's not for sitting members of parliament or senators, it's not a good idea to get involved in other people's politics because we are paid to represent Bermuda. We're not paid to pull down other countries or to raise up other countries. United States is a great friend of ours. I look forward to continuing to strengthen that relationship. And my views of President Biden or former President Trump really don't matter to people. What matters is how we can strengthen our relationships and move forward. And that's key to me.
I want to go back to your comment because, and this is no disrespect to Marcus Jones at all, Senator Marcus Jones, but I'm not even sure why I'm apologizing because I mean what I'm about to say. But he is probably the most irrelevant politician there is in Bermuda. So I think he could have gotten away with not signing Senator Marcus Jones. So when you say that, it would have been disingenuous, I don't think people would have even recognized his post had he just put it. And that's how he felt. I feel like once he put senator, it was almost like it was representative, not only of the political party that appointed him, but the country in which he served. So I think I may differ with you on that a bit. Again, that's fair. I mean, we're not here to agree, but I just think that's where I may differ. I just think I don't feel that he's done enough if it were Michael Dunkley, if you were senator, appointed Senator Michael Dunkley, and you didn't sign it that way, I think people would make an issue because, as Carla mentioned, you're out there, you're on social media. I don't think people would react the same to him had he not signed it, Senator. That's where I'm coming from with it.
But can I append on real quick? I'm
sure.
sorry, Mr. Dunkley, before you answer, because the explanation that you gave, while some may not agree with it, it's an explanation, and perhaps the party could have given that explanation, because I've never heard it said that way. You know, I've always felt you keep it separate. You said what you said, which I think is valid. Then maybe that's for the powers that be, a lesson for them to just say it, as opposed to say, we're going to do a post to say that we're not going to comment about the post. It just goes in more with the distrust thing, you know, because the answer you gave, I think, is plausible if that's where the party stands on it.
Well, look, I don't speak as the leader of the party, and the leader of the party gave an explanation. Look, I accept what you said, Jamal, about the signing. That's your view. I have my view. That's not the main thing about it. You know, unfortunately, there is a controversy there, and the former president has a lot of detractors, not only within the United States but around the world. And that post did cause a bit of a lightning rod. The party has dealt with it. We had conversations as colleagues about it, which those conversations have to stay in-house. And now, with the explanation being given, and Senator Jones with his further comments on it, I think we should move forward from there. I'm not trying to put it behind us, because what happened, and there's been an explanation. But now we need to deal with the challenges that face us in our community. And while it's great to get sidetracked about certain things, it's not going to help us as Bermudians to deal with the significant challenges we face. And here's why I say that, because we started this conversation talking about COVID and what Bermuda needs to do to get back on our feet. Guys, I said this over and over and over again. I don't think that people around the world, and certainly Bermudians, understand and appreciate just how difficult a situation we're in and how difficult it will be for us to get out of this. Now, many people do, but there are many people that believe that, okay, once we get the vaccine, once we create some herd immunity, once we start to kick this virus back a little bit and it wanes, that we can get back on and conducting life as we had known it before. My job will come back, things like this. It's not going to be the case. We're borrowing everything that we're putting into this, and we've got significant challenges to face. And remember, it's not like a recession that impacted just the United States. This has impacted the whole world. So what's that going to mean? Once once we make the virus start to slacken its grip on our communities, everyone is going to be chasing a rebuild. So we need to be one of the first out of the box to get that rebuild. We need to be innovative on this, and we need to be together as one. And, Joe Biden won in the States for many reasons. And as a politician, you look at all around the world what they do. He talked about unity. He had a pretty simple message for his campaign. He talked about unity when there was so much division in the community. Well, I'm serious here, guys. Don't just say unity because it's a 5-letter word. We actually have to do it to rebuild, because if we argue about every step the government proposes, we're not going anywhere.
Well, speaking of unity, Charles Jeffers actually, this is a good comment regarding that question. Given the pandemic and the need for more collaboration, which in turn is unity, what does Mr. Dunkley see as the role of the opposition party, and does he believe with only 6 seats they can be effective?
Well, sure. I believe that, if there's an opposition, you could be effective. It just means you have to work. And for some people, that's difficult, but for a lot of people, that's no problem. So I believe the opposition can be effective. In this time, you've heard it from the opposition leader, and you've seen it from our performance. We're not just about criticism, about pulling the government back, about pulling apart their ideas. We are about supporting the good ideas and offering suggestions and informed critique about what needs to take place. Look, the politics of division quite often will win elections because it divides people. But after that election, you've got to get to work, because you got to bring the people back together. Now we're in the middle of COVID. The opposition can form a valuable part of us moving forward, because you can't accept everything that comes out from your politicians, especially from the government. You can't, you shouldn't. You should question it. You should research it and then support it where you can. And we've done a lot of support through the first few months of this administration, but you also ask some value questions, and we'll keep doing that. And I think that's what oppositions have to do. Look, I don't like the position of just having 6 seats and 3 in the Senate, but I've never shied away from work. And with the relationships I have within the community, I will continue to work to make Bermuda a better place. And I don't have any problem with showing support and holding hands with the government where need be, because we're all in this together. And the ocean's cold right now, so I'm not sinking. We're not sinking in Bermuda. It's too cold, guys.
One last question from the audience. Run out of time here. Kathy Bromby says, "What do you think about BDA 30-year bonds?"
BDA 30-year bonds?
Yeah.
Well, without knowing the full context of the question, I think it's an interesting option, but you still have to be able to raise the money from somewhere. I'm not sure if I'm hitting the mark on that based on what you said, because I'm not totally familiar with the question.
All right. Before we let you go, thank you for the conversation. But before we let you go, last week, former Premier of Bermuda, Dr. the Honorable Ewart Brown, was charged in plea court, as Carla reported last week. Obviously, over the years, Dr. Brown has said that there's been a witch hunt by those who oppose him. You may not be in a position to comment on a ongoing court case, but was there a witch hunt by the likes of your political party against Dr. Ewart Brown?
First off, I will never comment on court cases. I also never really comment on police investigations unless they concern myself and my family. I think we should let those authorities deal with what they have to do. But in regards to the witch hunt, no, there was no witch hunt. If I could just inform you and your audience again, that investigation actually started under Paula Cox before the 2012 election, when those special investigators were brought in. So if people use the words witch hunt, they have to reflect back to before 2012.
Indeed. Thank you. Really appreciate the conversation. Always open, always willing to engage people regardless of the platform. So definitely appreciate it, Mr. Dunkley. We will be having you back again. A lot more to talk about. As we stated earlier, and I really remove politics, folks. Bermuda state was what it was long before the pandemic. Once we come to terms with that, then I think we can actually collaborate and work together to get out of it. So thank you for the conversation, sir. All the best going forward, and keep fighting. We have a very interesting budget season coming up, and I hope all eyes will be on that.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
No, thank you guys. You guys stay healthy and keep talking to the people, because it's important. Now more than ever, while people are cooped up, they need to have conversations to keep us alive and healthy and well-being. Appreciate you guys. Stay healthy.
Thank you much. Well. All righty, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with the Daily Play, a little recap. Thanks again to former Premier Michael Dunkley for joining us for the conversation. Stick with us. Don't go anywhere yet.
Bermuda, do you know the difference between internet and Wi-Fi? Don't worry, neither did I. Let me break it down to you. Internet is delivered to your modem, which then has to push the Wi-Fi signal into the rest of your home. Do you find that the further you're away from your modem, the weaker your Wi-Fi signal gets? That's because Bermuda's homes are built hurricane tough. It's really difficult for that Wi-Fi signal to reach every room. But you're in luck. Our One Home Wi-Fi solution guarantees Wi-Fi coverage in and around your home with the help of our Eero devices. Plug in the Eero around your home and it will create a mesh Wi-Fi network in every room. Check us out at One today to sign up and make sure you can stream, work, and play from every corner of your home.
So my name is Denny O'Connor. I'm part of the Bermuda Travel Concession. I have a great partner named Jennifer, and we are overseeing the 3 restaurants here at the airport.
We knew we needed the support of the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation in order to help us with not only our business plan, but also financing. So financing was one of the biggest things, and we knew that we could count on BEDC because we've used them in the past and they've always come through for us.
Someone that is starting their own business, I would just say keep running. And when I mean run forward. Don't run backwards, don't run away from it.
It is instrumental to have a good support team around you. Don't take failure as a setback, take it as a setup for future opportunities and more learning and understanding and growth.
So whenever I'm doing a business venture, I'm always looking to contact BEDC because I feel that they are the support system behind my success. I'm very excited and very motivated to be working with them and learning and growing as they are great guidance for us. I would encourage someone starting their own business to look BEDC up, for sure.
All right. Thanks again to Medical House, One Communications, Linda's Bermuda Economic Development Corporation. And thank you to former Premier Michael Dunkley for stopping by for a conversation today. Your thoughts, Carla?
I enjoy speaking to Mr. Dunkley. He's just open, whether we see on the same side or not. He's a very, in my opinion, transparent man, and he takes the hot seat pretty well. So
what I would say, and this may upset a lot of people, like that ever bothered me. But the truth is, I think I want out of our Black leaders what we got out of Michael Dunkley. And this is what I mean. When Michael Dunkley was premier, you did not see a change in who he was versus when he wasn't. When Michael Dunkley was kicked out of the House, when Patrice Miners beat him in 2007, you did not see a change. He stayed at it. What I want to see in David Brett, I know it gets tough and it's busier and it's more to do, but you literally, it's almost like you have a personality disorder. You become a different person. Like, be that same person. Dunkley was still active the same way on social media when he was premier as he is now. So that's all I'm looking for. It's like, I don't want that now that I've secured the bag, I'm this new person or I'm a different person. Chris Famous, MP Famous does it well. The same person in terms of how he communicates. That's what I mean, how you communicate. Not necessarily how you are, because you could say something right now and then when you get around your colleagues in the House, be very different. But that's towing that party line. Anyway, enough of that. Thanks again to Michael Dunkley, former premier of Bermuda. It's Monday, so it's a famous quote. Carla's going to need your help with this one, folks. All right. Quote, a white child might need a role model, but a Black child needs more than that in this society. He needs hope, end quote.
Lean on me, the gentleman.
It is not Joe Clark.
Okay.
I'll give you a hint. We lost two legendary people over the weekend.
Hank Aaron.
She got it, folks. Hank Aaron, one of the greatest ever. He was a home run king until Barry Bonds took his record over, I think, 15 years ago. Quoted, a white child might need a role model, but a Black child needs more than that in this society. He needs hope. He was one of the greatest to play what's considered America's game. So Hank Aaron is the answer today. Carla, do you have any motivation, inspiration, something to send us off feeling good about ourselves for today?
Yes, and we also lost another media icon as well with Larry King this weekend.
We sure did. One of the greatest to conduct interviews, late night voice. He will be missed.
Create a life you can't wait to wake up to. Laura Girardi Meyerson.
Yeah, that should be the goal. That should be the goal. I mean, look at Carla. She loves waking up and coming. Morning, Jamel. How you doing? Like, that's Carla. Before we got on there, folks, you should see a big smile and everything. Seeing as the camera comes on, different story. She act like she don't know nobody. But any final words for the day?
Happy day today. No, just have a great day. It's Monday.
It's Monday, everyone's favorite day of the week. I will say this: we'll have Jesse Seymour in the house tomorrow regarding the fundraiser for his mom's medical expenses. So please tune into that show. Very important conversation, because I think we need to discuss things like healthcare and how we as communities should be, our own supporters. So we have family coming on. Now it's time for our Daily Hour family to see how we can support. Thanks again to our partners, Medical House, One Communications, and Linders, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. We are not doing opposites, by the way, not this part. She's Carla Zul. I'm Jamel Hartman. My friends, make it a great day.